For 22 years, the Royal Opera House has run a course to help teachers take opera into schools. For 7 intensive days, teachers from all over the world get practical experience of all aspects of opera production, from music to lighting design. At the end of the week, all of them have to write, produce or perform in a totally new opera. Its high standards are set by a crack team from the Royal Opera House.
We work very long days, very long sessions, and it's an incredibly demanding thing to go through.
And they need to be willing to take risks to a certain extent, to meet challenges and to perhaps go beyond their comfort zone.
This course is so much about team building. At the end of the day, it's about finding relationships with people through the creative process.
At the world-famous Dartington Hall Summer School in Devon, 24 teachers learn what they're in for.
Write an opera as a process is here to enable you to go back into the classroom and create an original piece of opera with your students. We will all be responsible together for creating the music, the drama, the words, the design, the lighting, costumes, and realising those things so that at the end of the week we will create and perform our own opera, so that you know exactly how it feels to be in that position for the young people in the classroom.
Sandra Hampton and Sue Childs teach deaf children in Kent.
My background's in drama and I've only ever seen one opera. Just thought it was a wonderful opportunity to find out more about it and then transfer my knowledge, give the children access to it.
It's quite inspiring to be amongst other creative people who are not in painting and drawing, which is my field, and to be a part of other musicians and other people who are into drama.
I think the thing that most surprises me during the Write an Opera course is how much the teachers develop skills in areas they thought they wouldn't be able to develop.
God, this is tricky stuff, isn't it?
It takes them right back to almost being a child, or certainly to being a student. So it's a very unusual experience for an adult who has a lot of skills and is used to being in control, to suddenly be in this complete pressure cooker, really, complete creative pressure cooker, where we're getting them to look at everything they thought they knew from completely different angles.
I've seen how difficult that can be sometimes for teachers, stepping out of that comfort zone. Not being the leader, not knowing all the answers. So being able to be vulnerable again and being the learner.
If we all just pick a name.
The teachers learn how to create, rehearse and perform in their own mini-dramas.
I don't know. Algernon. Yeah, it is a name.
Suddenly a seagull attacks his balloon.
But to do that, they have to be able to negotiate agreements and reach group decisions.
Very much warlord. Yeah. He's a warlord.
So is this physical exercise?
Yeah.
Swimming. And he does it in front of a mirror.
Yeah, he practices.
He's just become an 11-year-old boy, hasn't he?
In the course and in the school, they're making art collaboratively, and so that brings a huge number of political issues.
And how often does he do it, do you think?
Every day.
Every day, yeah.
But at the same time every day?
Yeah, oh yeah.
At times it works democratically. Sometimes, you know, the dictator actually pushes the thing forward, and that's a difficult thing. We always find it a challenge to collaborate with others, find it hard to get to collaborate with writers or directors, etc. It's always a challenge collaborating.
So you're kind of like a semicircle.
Yeah, and you can see all angles of yourself and you can sort of check yourself.
Right.
The teachers are regularly put into different small groups to discuss the production. Firstly, to list the production roles and the qualities needed to fulfil them.
You've got what they need to do, in professional practice, the job descriptions, if you like. What I'd like you to do is to think about that within your school.
Okay.
And think about anything else in addition to that that is specific to school practice. Does that make sense?
Kind of. Sorry, maybe
for pupils. They're not for staff.
Pupils
They're all
will
for
do
pupils.
all of these jobs. Okay. So you
So
will
from a
have
child's perspective.
You will have a child who is the stage manager.
The only job the children won't do is to be the director, the person who gives any production its shape, pace and cohesion.
Good, okay, hold it there. Mark, you've got to put some thought processes in there for yourself, Mark. Exactly what am I thinking? What's motivating it? Exterminator, I hate it here. I really do. There's more people over there. I hate it here. Why do I hate it here? Why do I hate it here? Because I miss my friends. That is the one role that will be performed by you rather than by a student. And the reasons for that are that, you know, there needs to be somebody with an overall control of the project, and that's a great onus to put on the student. And also there needs to be somebody with the final decisive power.
Put into small groups again, the teachers discuss what skills a director needs.
A bad director is trying to impose something. It's a drawing out process, isn't it?
Well, I agree with that, but one of the bad directors I felt I had was that they didn't give me enough direction. I needed some.
You're putting these young people onto a stage where they're pushed in front of an audience. They need to feel confidence in their own self and their own self-worth to be put in that platform.
What makes a good director?
Director would need to allow them to be self-expressive with their creativity. Guidance, they need to be able to guide the students well, and our students need to be inspired by the director.
A bad director gives too much or too little direction. In other words, they're not in balance. It can be too much or too little.
Doesn't listen, is insensitive, and doesn't allow the fun for it to be creative. I think that's the thing. It's got to be enjoyable, and children learn by doing, and they need to enjoy doing it.
Sometimes what makes the difference between a good director and a bad director, they're both in all of us, and sometimes it's just that little bit of letting stress get to us that turns us from one end to the other. I'll do my very best not to give you a demonstration of the bad director at the end of this week. Join in. Bit more speed, keep going round, keep it going.
Music theatre is a particular way of telling a story about a set of characters. Getting the story and characters right is essential for any production, including the one the teachers have just 7 days to produce.
What draws us very simply into stories? Plot, yeah. What happens?
At the start of any story, what's more important in the plot is the character. You really need to know something about the character to start with, to be drawn into that character.
Absolutely. It's worthwhile, again, with your students taking even longer over this little session to really think about what draws us in with stories.
The teachers are put into individual groups to come up with sketches and storylines which will be put to a general vote. Once again, their skills in negotiation are required.
Rather than just, it's hard for us to get a narrative or a story with conflict by brainstorming, possibly. If we each give an alternative story, and then we might spark us off onto something else.
I feel I'm being too guided by the actual image. That's my problem.
Who do we fancy as our chief character?
As our hero?
Well, as our central character. Could be a hero.
Well, hero.
It is a hero.
Yeah, it is a hero, yeah.
I fancy 5 as well.
Just think of it in terms of a comic story. Then think of it in terms of a tragedy. Then think in terms of, you know, exactly.
Yeah,
right.
That's better. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Let's go for comic because we've been talking quite sort of serious and dreary, haven't we? There.
Well, then we can go back to the idea of it being something silly like a prize marrow.
Yeah, in the show, in the village
And it's going to win the village show, and she's annoyed
we
because she
could
thinks
take
it's
it.
hers, or she did one but it didn't win, and this is the prize one.
Yeah, she grew one, but like the day before, some kids squashed it,
Oh,
and
they
it wasn't
stole
able
it.
to be entered.
They went to her garden and took it.
Or she's too young.
Yeah, but that's not comedy, is it?
Or she's too young to
Comedy,
enter.
that's major crime I'm talking about.
Story about a marrow. It's funny.
Not to marrow growers.
The longest runner bee.
Why did you go for 5 as your hero?
Because he's in the background, because he's looking at everybody. Everybody else is involved in themselves, and I think he has a picture of everybody. He kind of like heroes to be
Yeah, and the unremarkable hero.
Carrot, you know, with the long green thing and the really long...
obscurely shaped vegetable. You know, they do
The
those...
most knobbly something.
Yeah, the most ludicrous shaped vegetable.
The most knobbliest, knobbliest artichoke.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, knobbliest.
And it's the knobbliest artichoke competition, and it happens every year, so we've got our repetition and they're all looking forward to it.
Knobbliest artichoke.
Yeah.
I like it.
Discussions continue until it's time for the vote.
Do we agree our story is set in a village?
Yes.
Okay. Do we agree that outsiders come into that village?
Yes.
Are the outsiders a family?
Yes.
Okay. Do we agree that the villagers are antagonistic or hostile towards these outsiders?
Yes.
Do we also agree that this wariness, hostility, antagonism, comes to a head at a competition?
Yes.
Yeah. We know who wins the competition and is the outsider. Outsider wins?
The teachers have now agreed the main idea for the opera. The plot will concentrate on bitter rivalry and mysterious newcomers at a village vegetable competition. Lady D is used to winning every year, until the arrival of new boy Alan.
Now, let's pick up the pace of it slightly. 5, 6, 7, 8.
They've got their plot. Now they need the music.
Now, and I want 2 more volunteers to pick 2 other instruments.
All the teachers try to master a musical instrument, starting with the beat.
And it begins to have personality, and a bit of personality then begins to inspire. It's only just very basic personality, and all easily achievable so far, I think you can see, and a clear process. I mean, it's a very good thing to remember that achievement motivates and inspires, yeah?
In smaller groups, the teachers get into the practice of playing simple music as a team.
How did we know he was going to stop? You must do that.
I certainly felt that I didn't have any skill in music, but today I just feel as equal as anybody here who's teaching music at even secondary level or beyond that, and that's what's quite important. It doesn't matter what your skills are. You just feel as equal as everybody else in your group. And if you make a mistake on something so simplistic, it doesn't matter, because I made a mistake and you wouldn't have known, so it's great.
Having got the basics, they combine musicianship with invention, the early skills of composing the score.
What goes on in the classroom ultimately mirrors what I do professionally in my own practice. It's just it's maybe less complex at times, but it's ultimately the same. What happens all the time in music? A story idea generates a musical idea, but then that musical idea becomes something in itself and takes on a new life, and you can do other things with it. We could instantly try, for instance, all the skin drums, amplifying the idea. When you have a group of people echoing back to amplifying the idea takes on a real personality. It becomes a very powerful thing. You can all, I'm sure, imagine that as the opening of the overture straight away. So take a good 10, 15 minutes now to create an overture.
The teachers go into groups, and each group works on its own version of an overture.
Instead of getting hung up on, oh, I want to be really inventive and I want to do a tune and I want to whatever, I just think, well, that isn't actually important. That isn't actually why I'm here. It's more important that I join in with this group. And on those instances, I've deliberately put to the forefront of my mind my students and thought of something that a particular student in my head could do. So when I was drumming, I was deliberately keeping it really simple, really straightforward. Yeah, I could have stretched myself, but I don't think I'm not here to do that.
Sandra also has to bear in mind the deaf children she'll be teaching.
I think it will be taking just tiny elements of what we've learnt, and even if it doesn't flow on to a full, complete production as the level we're doing, there will be those elements that we can take through. The idea of the villagers getting everybody set up. Yeah. So
it could be like a melody.
You know, they're coming along, they've got their tables, they're setting out sheets, they're putting their cake stall up or whatever kind of...
You're implying there'll be a great deal of variety.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're starting to make music there that's more emotionally complex. It's very, very important. We're doing one other thing, which is an old-fashioned idea around an overture, which is the ultimate themes of the opera being integrated and interwoven into an overture. It's quite an old-fashioned idea. We're kind of almost doing a version of that there.
As work begins on the music, it's time to consider the words.
I keep mentioning this word libretto. Can anybody give me a definition of what a libretto is?
Your textbook about what the singer vocalizes.
The text of the opera, exactly.
Yes.
It's all of the words that are sung, the text. It's as simple as that. The word's an Italian word. All it means is little book. I hate it here. I miss my friends.
Focus on the boy. Even though you want all the voices there, but focus on what is the boy experiencing within the family. What kind of pressures are on this boy in this family?
So they've had their meeting, we're the new bit in the story, we're coming into the village. We could be walking in, we could be there, we could be going on our way to the show, me carrying...
But he said to keep it focused on him. So do you want to do what you said, like boy and mum?
Yeah.
And then we'll ask, and then we'll write that.
So, folks, scene 3. There's possible recits between Alan and Lady D leading into the duets between the two of them before the judging. Okay?
Just quickly remind me of those words. I know they're there, they're getting
The
there.
recitative is that sort of musical conversation, that sort of word.
Each group writes words for different scenes in the opera.
Simple musical setting that sort of moves the action on, and it's more like a conversation between the two characters.
Has she ever seen the? Does she know he's got an artichoke, or is that for us to decide?
I think that's for you to decide.
I think it would be good if she hasn't.
You
seen
might
it.
want to just check that with the group over there who are doing the chorus at the beginning of that number to see whether they might have dropped that in.
Because she could be little scamp. What does he think he's doing?
They're from the smoke. They just open up a tin.
Yeah, exactly. And
Little scamp. What does he think he's doing?
They're from the smoke. They just open up a tin.
Yeah. So we kind of think we need some of his language as well in his brain. That sort of. He's done.
Tim, I'm going for the little scamp. What does he think he's doing? They're from the smoke. They just open up a tin.
Great.
After the break, they learn to use their voices.
Let's all sing together, let's all sing together, let's all sing together, let's all sing together, let's all sing together.
Everybody has a voice, so we can start from that, but a lot of people don't really understand how the voice works.
Let's all sing together, let's all sing together, let's all sing together, let's all sing together.
The work I've done with them during this course has been working on breath control, thinking about how the actual voice works, different ways you can use your voice, different colours you can paint with your voice to interpret songs that the children are going to write. Let's just do a quick warm-up. So I would start with one side and I would, do something like make it silly, make it fun. Imagine there's water on your hand, so just flick it and you could start putting vocal sound into that. So I would do a and get lots of spit going everywhere. Quite sharp, so you're using your diaphragm without really even realising it. Flick water at someone.
Throughout each class, you are constantly thinking about your student, specifically with the students that I work, which their first language is BSL, British Sign Language. I think in that language for them or at all times throughout this course, whether it's somebody speaking, whether it's a musical instrument and what kind of action we can use to represent that. Because of the vocal cords, we're going to have to replace the vocal cords with these signs. And even though we can do that with musical instruments and we do it with our voices, I can now see a development that we can use with BSL and sign language and layering signs.
If you take the word sing and then stay on NG, let's just try that. Sing. The other thing that I have experienced as a professional working out there is the difficulty children have in singing and performing, acting at the same time. So it's really kind of marrying those two together. So through doing warm-ups, exercises, singing and moving, acting at the same time, trying to really get into role. Yoo-hoo! It's me. All right, should we just try that? Get your trolley. Yoo-hoo! It's me. So why do we sing? And bringing singing into your schools and doing an opera, it's fun. It's fun, yep. Anything else?
You're doing something with other people.
This is a great collective. What bits of your body do you need for singing? Your diaphragm, yep, all the muscles around here.
All of it.
Tongues, all of it. Possibly eyes, thank you. Yeah, eyes, it's that light on behind the eyes that can just so go dead, can't it, when you see performances. Let's sing a song. Right, let's do it. Oh, let's do it in head voice, so like the princess. Let's sing a song. Let's try it sob. Let's sing a song. Okay, let's try it without getting louder, but with that roundness. Let's sing a song. Lovely, and twang. Let's sing a song. Fantastic. The nice things about this is you can start colouring the voice. So it's not all just one palette of sound.
This is as spare as it can be. So, who are you then? I'm just here on my holidays. Where are you staying? Etc. Okay, that's one person's pitch. So
Words and music soon have to blend to accommodate the voice.
Separate note for this person. Oh, huh? B. So do you want to get B? So who are you then? I'm just here on my holidays. So let's have the two of those notes going at the same time. So you're doing a roll on a beat. Who are you then? I'm just here on my holidays. Where you stay? Who are you then? Who are you then? I'm just here on my holidays. Do we think decision is the most important word there? Yeah. Do we want just to, again, now we have the option of repeating go. So, what a decision. What a decision. Yeah. Repeating that line. What a decision. What a decision. What a decision. What a decision. I'm going to start now making the song up, but as a whole group. Yeah? So, all together, what a decision, and then males, female. Let's try that. Let's try that. 2, 3, 4. What a decision. What a decision. What a decision. A couple of things that this is doing, just to remind you, we're doing it as everyone's engaged. Would everyone agree with that? Yeah. We're not playing all the instruments. We're still keeping it everyone's thinking, achievement is fueling our motivation to go forward. Very important. So start in a way that you think that achievement will happen quickly, and then they can take it over. Lady D's been thwarted. There has been a suggestion, a strong suggestion, that there is a contrasting sense of meter in this. So we have so that boom. Could everyone play an F for a while? Just a bump, 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 and sing the same tune. Lady D's been thwarted. Now play an A, 2, 3, 4. Lady D's been thwarted. An A, yeah? A. Let's try an A, 2, 3, 4. Lady D's been thwarted. Can we hear the difference there? That the implied Lady D's been thwarted, as opposed to Lady D's been thwarted. By changing the root, we change the personality in the same way as the tonality is changed. Andrew?
I can hear what a decision at the same time as Lady B's been thwarted.
Yeah.
Let's try that. So 2, 3, 4. What a decision. What a decision. Oh, yeah. What a decision. And again. And Lady D's been thwarted. What a decision. Lady D's been thwarted. What a decision. Lady D's been thwarted. Lady D's been thwarted. Lady D's been thwarted.
Story and music provide a character's verbal identity. Equally important to how the characters sound is how they look.
Why do we wear clothes?
To show our status. Status? Yeah, good. Modesty, very good. When you say character, what do you mean exactly?
You sort of let your, I suppose, personality maybe, your personality shine.
Okay, so character, personality. So if you're talking about clothing on stage, what can costume tell an audience?
To answer this question, the teachers are put into new groups to design costumes to fit the leading characters.
Would you have a pocket watch or anything like that?
Go for character first and then see how she works with everyone else.
Oh, brilliant. We're going for denim hot pants, right?
There's no denim.
Sandra's group is given the character of the aristocratic artichoke grower, Lady D.
Don't do heels.
If you did do heels and you were doing this, what colour heels would you wear?
Well, you know, today you can get all kinds of great shoes and accessories. You can get shoes that would be matching this or matching bags.
What do you think of our group of characters?
You don't think guess anything was going on in this village?
Who's this?
The usual winner.
Okay. She looks a bit bitter, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Well, she's got her hat ready for winning, hasn't she?
Yeah. She's very rich, and she probably wins.
She probably has a gardener.
And even if she didn't,
yeah.
everyone would kowtow to her anyway.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the process of doing this? Any strong feelings in terms of using it in the classroom?
Even if a child isn't quite into the artistic and musical side, etc., this is something that everybody can be hands-on.
It's something very tactile, very immediate. And actually the ideas that have emerged about the villagers, about the story of where we are, when we are, have all come out of these drawings.
I think it allows students to learn in different ways as well,
Yeah.
who might not have spoken up or whatever earlier on. Suddenly they're just relaxed and they're cutting and sticking and doing something very safe, familiar in a group. And then I think you might just get some real gems from them that can then be incorporated and that you would have missed if you'd not allowed for this to happen. So I think it's really inclusive activity.
Yeah.
Since all the design roles will be taken by the teachers' pupils, the teachers have to learn how a stage is lit and why.
Visibility, that's the first one. It's all a bit pointless if the audience can't see what's happening. That's the second one. Very good. Atmosphere. What we can do with light to help the audience get what's going on is and help the actors, more importantly, is we can create a space that's lit with an atmosphere that supports the action that they are trying to achieve. Here is a lantern. You hang them on, you do up the clamp. They have a flex on the back, and generally the way we power up lanterns is from things called dimmers. I'm used to working in a well-equipped, large theatre with lots of facilities, lots of resources to produce the art that I want to produce. In a classroom, the teachers in the class won't have that level of equipment, and what we try and achieve is building of some techniques that can be used with any kind of equipment. Torches are great for experimenting. I've got these stinky little wind-up torches because from the point of view of having to remember to get batteries, and also they're a great little light source for trying out things like colour. If you have two people with torches and they can shine the light, if we were blacked out, you'd be able to see my light lit in purple. They can shine at each other, they can both shine at someone else, and you can see how colour works on people's faces, which is what generally we're trying to light. You don't have to produce art in a big theatre. You can produce the same quality of art on a smaller scale in a classroom. The other cheap things we can use, desk lights. You can find these in any school. It's just that people start to wonder where all the desk lights have gone. Once you've collected them all up, you can get a dozen out of the average school without anyone really noticing too much.
Could be. I mean, that sort of brings us in a nice way. We just lifted that one up off the floor.
It's really cool that it's all from desk lamps.
Think about this, how this configuration is working from an audience's point of view. So I know you're in it, you've got some people in it, but keep coming out and looking at it from out here.
All the other lights will be on. We're going to be a daytime atmosphere, aren't we? This is portraying quite nightly, evening-y.
I think you've got the red and the orange, the warmth. I think you've got the white light here and the white light there. There should be another colour near the back, yeah. I can't see it, is it me? If we put green on her, I don't know, it makes her seem like...
She's a bit of a monster.
Before we even know that, isn't it? That's a bit warmly.
You could just have her show. Yeah, that's
Oh, she's green.
You could just do that.
Yeah, we just...
How fun is that?
Yes.
Production design begins with a model box. The teachers must learn to turn their design ideas into three-dimensional models, which will be the basis for the sets.
There you go. Can the strips and the greens stay for the whole show?
Wonderful. Yes. They could, couldn't they?
You might find participants at the beginning of the week going, oh, design, oh, I can't draw, and oh, I'm not sure, and oh. And by the end of the week, you find that's all been left behind, and they are confidently making a fantastic set that works in the space, that tells a story, that is beautiful in its own right.
In terms of a designer's tools, the ideas or the things that a designer uses to get across ideas, I don't mean scissors and tape. I mean concepts, if you like. What things do you use? Colour is one, obviously. Shape, yeah. Texture, definitely, yeah.
Layers.
Yeah, layers, that thing of layering things. There's one more, which is to do with, well, there's many more, but one I'm after, which is to do with theatre as opposed to a painting or a sculpture.
Movement.
Movement,
Well,
exactly. Change, movement. You're revealing something visually over time. It's not a still moment. So that's something else design can play with, is how things change. So then, scene one, for instance, what's the message? We see the people who live in this place, in this community. What is the message that we want to get across?
On the 20th of September, we will have our 50th show. Cups and prizes in abundance for the vegetables we grow.
You have these conversations and these ideas. How would you capture them?
I keep one of these. Always. One for every show. Lots of stuff in it. Just as things occur to me. Lots of those sorts of questions, images stuck in. For your children, really worthwhile getting certainly a design team doing that. And I would say at the earlier stages when you're working with the whole group, it's a board in the room, it's something that everyone can see. The way we've got those costume drawings up. So it's accessible to everyone throughout the process. You know, and has a chance to influence music, drama, and you know, back and forth. Okay, what you're going to do now is you're going to design your opera. Could I just throw another idea in? A village hall is usually a rectangle, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Do you think, and we've got to put the chorus somewhere where they can be seen, do you think if we did a rectangle, it might be more like a village hall?
Are you seeing the final scene in a village hall then?
I'm seeing, actually, I can see the whole thing in a village hall.
I'm seeing it starting in the hall, the meeting, and then the final scene being, this massive marquee and like on the village green kind of.
It's important from a lighting point of view that you leave some gaps within that shape of tent that you make. You don't make a complete tent, blocking out all ways of getting.
See it? You see it?
Yeah. One key thing that I've learned is that things like the creative aspects of costume design and stage design doesn't come at the end. And I think that's quite valuable. It has just as an important role as every other part in putting on this production.
I don't know whether draping is going to work because it's going to kind of almost cover the church, isn't it?
But that can be repositioned.
Yeah.
That basic understanding of the story, and you'll be amazed.
As the production takes shape, the teachers have to clarify a collective version of the plot and characters.
The first thing I always do is sit down with whether it's the group of actors or whether it's the whole company and say, okay, so tell me your story. And we get 6 different versions coming back. No, this is a spaceship. No, it's not a spaceship. It's a submarine. And you get a lot of different things. So what we're going to do very quickly is I'd like you to label yourselves 1, 2, 3. And for the first person, just to tell the other two, very briefly the outline of the story of our opera.
There's a new family who are moving into that village. Madam who lives in the village, who's always won the competition for artichoke growing.
They're very traditional, very set in their ways. And every year they have a wonderful village celebration that's
just
set
very
out the
briefly,
same
very brief
as the
outline.
way the village live their lives. Very clockwork and very, you know.
The second person, I'd like to take that outline and to build on it, building a slightly more complex story.
Once upon a time, in a village, somewhere in England, the local people were getting ready for their annual show. Lady D usually wins the show.
The third person, I would like you to tell the story again, building on it even more. Okay? Where you go.
I've seen them around the village when they've been down from London, but they've been a bit concerned about them because they look a little bit odd and they look a little bit like the sorts of people that they didn't really want to enter the closed community. The boy is a bit geeky and he always wears a really long scarf and he talks about dialects and things, and some of the old people don't really know what that's all about. And the father and the mother, just something a little bit odd about them and the relationships, they're not sure. And just they go backwards and forwards to London a lot, so not really part of the community. They're very, very suspicious of them.
It's a great way of, just making sure everybody kind of knows, agrees on a version of the story, but also that they begin to imagine it, begin to widen their understanding of it, begin to fantasize about it. Is a really important phase.
The teachers then imagine themselves in a variety of characters as a way to teach their children how to get into their roles.
Just do yourself a drone.
With 2 days to go to the performance, small groups of teachers each work on the music and lyrics for different parts of the show.
Very nice. Yeah. What was your first note?
And nobody yet knows which jobs they'll be asked to do.
Thank you. That's too high. Take it down a bit. Okay.
Nice and short.
Enough.
What's the rest of it?
Lady
Bar.
D and Alan.
Lady, yeah.
Lady D and Alan in scene 3.
We haven't started.
Quickly, didn't we?
We've cut it down. It's really, really short
But we
now.
could do the rest of it quite quickly.
Yeah.
We'll start the rest of it, my dear.
Yeah.
Wow, it's very different.
I'm going to pause you to get it straight away. Now, you're using the same
I thought you wanted the
no,
three.
Yeah, I know. No, just hang on a second. You're using the same pattern of going down a third.
Don't do that.
I think you need to my mind, this duet between these two has a sinister overtone.
Right.
And I think, in advising you to examine and explore the mood and the feeling before you start composing, I would have thought that you would think, what is going to communicate or convey
the mood,
that essential thing? This is the primary axis of our drama. It's an older woman and a younger boy. Young blood, vital young blood, fresh, dead thing. And she is, in this moment, effectively trying to bring him into her vortex of control, if you like. Would you say?
Yeah. I'd like to sing that tune again because it's such a nice tune and it would be sad not to have it repeated.
Right, the only problem is it's nearly 1:30 and we haven't done the other one yet.
I don't care, I'd rather do this one to get it right.
So I think you should be extremely proud, and really, that is really fantastic, as I think you can all see. That is really, in half an hour, we have basically created a 20-minute opera.
Just a few hours before the course leaders will decide who does what job, the teachers reinforce their performing and directing skills.
Just keep thinking about who you are. Yeah, absolutely. We won't do that. We're just going to run through it. Just keep thinking about who you are. You're at a garden fete. Respond to what's going on and remember where the key focus is and don't take that away. Cool. Go. 1.
Somebody has entered an artichoke into this competition. It is not my artichoke. What are you going to do about it?
My dear, I wouldn't worry about it.
That is an artichoke.
But Mrs.
It's not my artichoke.
Mrs. D, you always win.
Try asking questions rather than giving instructions.
Well, instead of getting them to say something.
Yeah, just so that, if you ask how are you feeling at this moment, how would Alan express himself at this moment, what's his inner dialogue going? Yeah. It's a way of getting what you want out of them, but in a way that again draws it from them rather than from you.
This time, if it's okay with everybody, this time instead of tapping you and you talk, we're going to hold onto your shoulder and we're going to ask you a question about what you're feeling and freezing and being that character at that time.
Don't underestimate the amount of text we could have generated by that experience. Also, don't underestimate the value of letting your performers play as their characters.
The challenge for me was trying to work on a character that maybe, for me, I felt I didn't have such a deeper understanding of. It was one of the sort of minor characters, really. But I did enjoy the performing bit, especially under the direction and just sitting back and having somebody tell you what to do. It's like really liberating. Like, yeah, it's brilliant.
Challenging was a lot of it. A lot of being that lead person almost, and I found everything else that we've done so far, there hasn't been that one focus person. It's been an equal opportunity, and I felt it took a while for me to understand what it was expected from me in that role. But the fun bit was just seeing it just develop and walking around it and walking in and out and walking through the actual while they were performing and getting behind them. So seeing it from all angles was really inspiring, and then they'd come out with something. You're like, oh my God, that's really great.
Just looking at all the work that we've done already this afternoon, I think we should probably acknowledge at this point that we have, in 5 and a bit days, written an opera.
But now come the big decisions. With a day to go before the teachers will produce and perform their brand new opera, the course leaders meet to decide who does what.
Again, Sue Child's experience is more in the area, Gemma reminds me, is...
She's drama, she did a BA drama.
BA in drama. And Sandra's experience is in art and design. She has the degree in fine art. Yeah. That debate about whether we actually want to switch the two around or whether we want to put them more into their...
It seems that you definitely should put one of them into music then, by the...
Yeah, I'm sure. Certainly one into orchestra.
Sue, I would say, was possibly more confident musically, and just look in terms of practical playing, from what I've noticed this week. They're both actually quite interestingly natural performers because of the element of sign language. In some ways, by taking that comfort zone away from somebody like Sandra and asking her to be a performer, that might be an interesting challenge for her.
Yeah. She certainly found the drama things today quite challenging, the emotional stuff, and I'm not sure about her singing, how comfortable she really is singing.
It's a feeling comfortable thing. It's not a lack of ability, I think you could say. So.
24 hours before the teachers will have to design, complete and perform the opera they have written, they learn what jobs they've been given.
Set designers, oh my God, that's the worst job I could get. I'm absolutely rubbish at that.
The job I've been allocated is a member of the orchestra, and that's kind of scary. However, when you look at the list of names there's two people who I think are quite strong musically, so I will feel more comfortable because they're there.
Yeah, I knew that was
I've been given a performance role, which I am absolutely terrified. I see my top skill as set design. I see music way down in the bottom. And they're not putting us in our lead roles. They're kind of thinking, what role are they good next, and taking the next step and pushing us in an area that we're not going to be set up to fail.
Everyone has been told their job, and the design teams get to work. But will they all be able to get it right in time?
What we have a lot of is brown paper.
Where's number 8?
We wondered whether that was a possibility.
If you imagine them going up,
I found the slidey thing.
suspended and across.
Right, we've got Lady D.
And then across the other side and then down again.
What's she going to be wearing?
That needs to be able to be out of the way at some points and then appear as marquee.
Oh, God.
Here's the brown paper.
Oh, that's Alan, isn't it?
It's early morning on show day. The tension builds.
I can't look up. Oh.
Sue Childs and the other musicians not only have to play the music, they have to combine everybody's musical and lyrical ideas into one final score.
In a composition process as a composer, what I do first of all is I produce a vocal score, which is a guide to the accompaniment. And all the singers are able to learn it, they're able to stage it, they're able to, and then I can orchestrate and then, etc. And that's what we're doing.
Okay, from the beginning. 1, 2, 3.
An artichoke, who dares to bring an artichoke?
But my dear Mrs. D, you always take first prize.
We had to do some composing, we had to do it quite quickly, and we had to try and keep a track of that composing through notation, trying to remember how to write it down, and I couldn't remember. So now I'm thinking, okay, I couldn't do that, and I couldn't actually keep the two bits of rhythm clearly in my head, and I wasn't clear when to change to the other scale, the other set of notes.
Okay. And the introduction is a B and F, and they've already indicated the rhythm. So this is the rhythm. So
we write it like that, B and F?
Yeah.
Okay, so who are...
You then, all in one bar. Who are you? Then, over here, I should say.
back of hand.
I'd like a different job.
Try a little bit nearer the middle. That's our next bit, isn't it? Oh, we need it.
About there?
About there, yeah.
Stop feeding a minute, Bridget.
I kind of follow Lady D at my current
Yeah. How old are you?
I'm grown up and I follow Lady D because
So you're in your best clothes then?
I'm in my best summer clothes. I think my flip-flops are okay with this, wouldn't they?
Yeah, flip-flops is good. Took me ages to get that out of the bag. Actually, no, I did that overnight, that one. I was just pretending I couldn't do anything to do with sewing.
Yay, I'm putting up the washing now. How far do I go?
I think the cue for the music is Lady D putting down her artichoke.
Okay.
With hours to go, the performers try to get their own act together.
Who dared to bring an artichoke? An artichoke, an artichoke. Always take first prize. An artichoke.
Great, excellent. Let's keep it simple.
Just 7 days after they all first met, the show goes ahead on time and without a hitch.
Party, the big day is here. This is our time to shine. And the winner is
I think we've got to be really careful about, when we go back to school, making sure that the youngsters have got an understanding of the variety of roles involved right from the outset. So what we're also going to have to do is to remind them of the other jobs.
In many ways, I think it's changing the way I look at the arts in general, and this course has inspired me to definitely change the way I look at things in the classroom.